When Christmas slows the world down, the narcissist is forced to face the memories they spent all year trying to outrun. Christmas has a strange psychological effect, and this is not by chance. It breaks the normal flow of everyday life. The usual distractions like work pressure, daily chaos, noise, constant scrolling, and endless stimulation slow down just enough for quiet thoughts to enter. That quiet space invites reflection, and reflection is exactly what a narcissist spends the entire year trying to escape. For most of the year, their emotional balance depends on constant movement. They chase fresh attention, new admiration, new stories about who they are and how they should be seen. As long as they keep moving forward, they don't have to look backward. Forward motion protects them from self-examination. Christmas interrupts that motion in a way they cannot fully control. A narcissist stays psychologically stable by controlling meaning. They decide what mattered and what didn't. They label people as important or irrelevant, too demanding or easily replaceable. They rewrite events in their favor so they never have to take responsibility. This control over meaning allows them to avoid emotional accountability. If they can change the story, they don't have to feel the pain inside it, but Christmas is filled with memory. Traditions repeat themselves year after year. The same songs play again, the same decorations come out, the same dates return on the calendar. These repeating patterns act like mental anchors. They pull the mind backward whether the person wants it or not. And when the narcissist is pulled backward, their sense of control starts to weaken. What unsettles them most is that memory does not follow their rules. You cannot order memory to disappear. You can try to push it down, distract yourself from it, bury it under new experiences. But when the environment encourages reflection, buried material comes back up. Christmas creates that environment naturally. It slows time. It encourages pauses. It places emotional meaning everywhere. And that stillness is dangerous for someone who survives by constantly constructing an image. In quiet moments, the narcissist is no longer performing for an audience. There is no role to play, no immediate reaction to manage, no admiration to feed on. They are left alone with the internal structure they have been avoiding for months or even years. This is when unresolved emotions begin to surface. Feelings they pushed away return without permission. Regret, envy, emptiness, shame, and fear quietly move forward. And this is the moment when you re-enter their mind. Not because they suddenly grow empathy or remorse, but because you represent a weakness in their illusion. You were part of something real. You shared time, emotional exchange, and meaning. You saw parts of them when the mask was not fully secure. You witnessed vulnerability, even if they later denied it. That makes you psychologically significant. And psychological significance cannot be erased without consequences. During the year, they distract themselves with new people and new situations. They tell themselves that the past no longer matters. They convince themselves that you were replaceable. But Christmas challenges that belief. It reminds them that not everything can be controlled. They may control people in the present, but they cannot fully control memory. The mind remembers moments that carried emotional weight. It remembers who saw the real cracks. It remembers who mattered beyond utility. That realization creates discomfort they cannot easily escape. This discomfort often appears as restlessness. They may feel irritated without knowing why. They may feel bored even while surrounded by people. They may seek attention more aggressively during this time. Some become unusually nostalgic. Others grow emotionally cold. Some may even reach out unexpectedly, not because they miss you in a healthy way, but because your presence once helped stabilize their inner world. Your memory challenges the story they tell themselves about being unaffected and superior. It reminds them that they are not as emotionally untouchable as they pretend to be. Christmas also carries social expectations. There is pressure to appear happy, grateful, connected, and fulfilled. For someone who already struggles with inner emptiness, this pressure can intensify the gap between appearance and reality. They may compare themselves to others. They may feel exposed by their own lack of genuine connection. And when that happens, the past becomes louder. The mind searches for moments when they felt seen, valued, or emotionally anchored. And that search often leads back to you. This does not mean they suddenly understand the harm they caused. It does not mean they are ready for accountability or growth. It means the environment has weakened their defenses. The constant noise they rely on is quieter. The distractions are fewer. The emotional atmosphere is heavier. And in that space, the truth they avoid begins to press in. They feel the weight of what was lost, not always as sadness, but as tension, irritation, or inner chaos. Christmas shows them that control is limited. They can manipulate narratives in the present, but memory exists outside their authority. Memory holds emotional truth. It preserves moments that mattered, even if they try to deny them. And the more they try to escape that truth, the louder it becomes in stillness. That is why this season feels uncomfortable for them. It exposes the fragile foundation beneath the performance. For you, this understanding is important. If they resurface during this time, it is not a sign of change. It is a sign of inner disturbance. It reflects their struggle, not your responsibility. You do not owe them comfort or access to your healing. Their discomfort is the result of unresolved emotional material they refuse to face. Christmas simply removes the noise long enough for them to feel it. This season reminds them that emotional bonds leave marks. That meaning cannot be fully erased. That people are not as disposable as they claim. And even if they never admit it out loud, the memory of you challenges their illusion of total control. That alone is deeply unsettling for someone who survives by never looking inward. The past carries its own kind of power. It doesn't speak through logic or careful reasoning. It speaks through feelings, memories, and emotional echoes. Narcissists are especially sensitive to this because their sense of self is unstable. It is not built from the inside. It relies heavily on attention, validation, and outside reinforcement. When that reinforcement weakens during holidays, periods of loneliness, or moments of comparison, their inner structure starts to shake. There is also a symbolic layer here that cannot be ignored. Christmas is widely seen as a time of closeness, forgiveness, unity, and belonging. Even if a narcissist openly rejects these ideas or claims not to care, they are still surrounded by them. Family dynamics become active, social comparison grows stronger. Quiet questions begin to surface. Who stayed in my life? Who walked away? Who still thinks about me? Who no longer does? When these questions appear, your absence suddenly matters in a way it didn't before. Control is not only about dominating other people. It is also about controlling the story someone tells themselves about who they are. Christmas disrupts that control by forcing comparison. Comparison between the image they project and the reality of their emotional life. And in that contrast, certain people become very noticeable, especially those who left without falling apart, those who didn't beg, chase, or collapse, those who refused to be diminished. What truly unsettles a narcissist is not loss by itself. It is proof that their control was never absolute, that someone could step outside the version of reality they tried to create, that someone could hold on to the truth quietly without needing to explain or announce it. Christmas brings that realization closer to the surface, and this is where the quiet strength lies. You don't have to do anything at all. You don't need to remind them of your presence or absence. You don't need to confront, justify, or clarify. Time, memory, and meaning are already doing that work. When illusion weakens, reality rises on its own. So the reflection here is simple but deep. When you stop participating in false stories, the truth does not vanish, it waits. And when the noise fades, the truth has a way of returning by itself, asking to be faced. One of the most surprising psychological realities is that silence can hold more weight than attention. We are often taught that being loud, visible, or reactive gives us influence. But in the emotional system of a narcissistic relationship, attention is the currency. Silence is the removal of that currency. For most of the year, this withdrawal can go unnoticed. Life is busy, distractions are everywhere. But during Christmas, silence changes. It becomes obvious. A narcissist depends on external reactions to manage their inner state. They need responses, praise, anger, longing, explanations. Even arguments reassure them that they still matter. What destabilizes them most is not hatred, but indifference. Christmas magnifies this effect because it raises expectations of connection. Messages go out, calls are made, old relationships resurface. When you do not appear during that time, your absence feels sharp. To a narcissist, your silence during the holidays does not feel neutral. It feels like a loss of relevance, and that is deeply threatening. Not because they suddenly crave emotional closeness, but because your lack of response disrupts their self-image. They are used to believing they can trigger a reaction whenever they choose. When they cannot, uncertainty appears, and uncertainty is unbearable for someone whose identity depends on control. Silence creates space, and in that space, the narcissist has to sit with their own thoughts. There is no immediate feedback to steady them, no argument to win, no explanation to twist. The mind turns inward, and inward is where the narcissist feels least safe. Christmas intensifies this inward focus. The pace of life slows. Reflection becomes unavoidable. Even narcissists, despite their defenses, are influenced by their environment. The cultural focus on togetherness highlights isolation. When others are busy with real connections, the contrast becomes painful, and your silence becomes part of that contrast. It quietly signals that not everyone is available on demand. This is where the psychological reversal begins. For much of the relationship, you may have felt unseen, unheard, or emotionally pushed to the margins. Now, your absence sits at the center of their attention, not because they have grown or changed, but because silence forces awareness. They replay moments. They wonder why you are not reacting, not checking in, not resurfacing. And this part is crucial. Silence removes their control over the narrative. When you explain yourself, they can twist your words. When you react emotionally, they can label you as unstable or needy. But silence gives them nothing to work with. It becomes a boundary that needs no defense. And boundaries enforced quietly are extremely unsettling to narcissistic psychology. On a deeper level, silence represents independence. It shows that your inner world no longer revolves around their behavior, that you are not waiting for acknowledgement, that your sense of self no longer depends on their attention. During Christmas, when unspoken social rankings are often evaluated, this independence registers as a loss of dominance. Internally, the narcissist may respond with anger, nostalgia, or contempt, but beneath all of it lies the same realization. Access has been removed, and access is what they mistake for intimacy. This is not about revenge or punishment. It is about understanding what real power actually is. Real power is not forcing someone to think about you. It is becoming so grounded that your absence speaks on its own. When you stop feeding dysfunction, silence turns into clarity. And clarity is something even the most defended mind cannot fully ignore. There is a certain kind of memory that disturbs a narcissist more than rejection, conflict, or even abandonment. It is the memory of someone they could not completely control. Not someone who screamed or begged, but someone who endured, observed, and eventually stepped beyond their influence. Christmas tends to bring this memory back because it highlights not only who is present, but who is missing and for what reason. A narcissist does not experience relationships as shared emotional exchanges. They experience them as spaces of influence. People are meant to revolve around them, respond to them, absorb their emotional chaos. When someone refuses that role, it creates a crack in their internal logic. They may downplay you outwardly, dismiss your importance, or rewrite history to protect their sense of superiority. But internally, the inconsistency remains. You become the exception that doesn't fit their story. What resurfaces at Christmas is not simple nostalgia. It is a confrontation with a version of you they failed to break. They remember moments when manipulation met clarity instead of confusion, when guilt did not work, when control slipped and could not be restored. These memories are deeply unsettling because they challenge the narcissist's belief that they always decide how things end. Narcissists often rely on rewriting the past to maintain dominance. Even after a relationship ends, they try to hold power by defining the story, casting you as weak, unstable, replaceable, or damaged. But that story falls apart when you continue to live, grow, and remain whole. Christmas, with its focus on continuity and life progress, makes that survival more visible. They may remember how you listened without losing yourself, how you questioned without attacking, how you stepped away without drama. These traits are quiet, but they are strong. They represent something the narcissist both envies and resents: inner authority. You did not need to destroy them to free yourself. You simply stopped playing the role they assigned you. That is what lingers in their mind. Not because they want reconciliation in a healthy way, but because your existence challenges their worldview. You are living proof that their influence was limited, that their presence did not define you, that their absence did not undo you. For someone whose identity depends on feeling all-powerful, that realization is threatening. Christmas intensifies this because it encourages self-evaluation. Even narcissists, beneath their defenses, take stock in their own way. Where am I now? Who is still here? Who isn't? And when they see that you are gone but not diminished, discomfort sets in. Not a comparison between you and others, but between who they believed they were and what reality quietly reveals. There is also a deeper fear at work. Narcissists fear being irrelevant more than being alone. They need to matter in a big, consuming way. When you move forward without drama, without collapse, without public hostility, you deny them that significance. Your quiet strength becomes a form of resistance, not intentional, but undeniable. This is where the balance of power truly changes. You are no longer a character in their story. You are writing your own. Christmas does not remind them of what they lost emotionally. It reminds them of what they failed to destroy psychologically. So the final reflection is this: the greatest victory is not being remembered with longing or regret. It is being remembered as someone who could not be broken. When you choose clarity over chaos and self-respect over entanglement, your survival itself becomes a message. And that is something no manipulation can ever erase. Christmas is not only a personal holiday, it is a social mirror. People gather, stories are shared, memories are revisited, and lives are quietly compared. For most people, this comparison is brief and harmless. But for a narcissist, it cuts deeper, because it reflects limits they never wanted to face, and truths they can no longer fully escape. For a narcissist, moments like this cut deeply. Family gatherings have a way of tearing down the carefully built image they show to the outside world and replacing it with something far more uncomfortable. Inside a family setting, the narcissist is no longer the only one shaping the story. Other voices exist. Old patterns come back. Childhood roles quietly return. People remember who was supportive, who caused stress, who disappeared when things got hard, and who brought calm. This is extremely disturbing for someone who relies on selective memory and constant reinvention to survive emotionally. Christmas forces the narcissist to look at life over a long stretch of time, and in that long view, cracks begin to show. Inconsistencies become harder to hide. What makes this even more intense is comparison. Narcissists are highly sensitive to status, progress, and how they are seen. They notice who is married, who seems respected, who feels emotionally steady, who others trust. Even if they make jokes about these things or act like they do not care, internally they are measuring themselves against everyone in the room. And during these moments, they often remember the person who once stood beside them, supported them, or believed in them before things started to fall apart. They remember you not as an extra character, but as someone who truly saw them, someone who witnessed who they were becoming and who they failed to become. Family is especially confronting because families remember patterns. Friends can be replaced, social groups can change, but families hold long memories, and those memories often clash with the narcissist's preferred self-image. When someone casually asks about you, without blame or drama, it opens a mental file the narcissist would rather keep shut. Why did that relationship end? What really happened? Why are you no longer part of the picture? This is where shame quietly enters. Not the loud shame that leads to apologies, but the slow, corrosive kind that exposes an inner emptiness. Narcissists experience shame as a threat to their very sense of self, which is why they run from it so aggressively. Christmas gatherings make that escape much harder. When others feel emotionally rooted and the narcissist feels hollow, the contrast becomes painful. This is often where regret disguises itself as nostalgia. They may tell themselves they miss you, but what they really miss is the version of themselves that looked more together, more admired, more stable when you were there. You represented structure. And once structure is lost, it is very difficult to fake, especially in close settings where people know your history. It is important to understand that this is not about love suddenly returning. It is about self-awareness triggered by comparison. They see others building lives with depth and continuity, and they feel the absence of something solid inside themselves. In that moment, you become a symbol of a missed chance, not because you were perfect, but because you were real. On a deeper level, this reveals something important about human growth. We are shaped not only by what we want to achieve, but by our ability to maintain relationships over time. Christmas highlights this truth because it rewards continuity. Narcissists often do well at beginnings, but struggle with long-term care and consistency. During these moments, they are surrounded by proof of what endurance looks like. And that proof is uncomfortable. Your absence speaks clearly. It shows that you were not the problem and that you were not disposable. You were part of a life path they walked away from. And that realization, even if it passes quickly, leaves a trace. So the reflection to carry forward is simple. When you choose stability over chaos and growth over performance, time starts working in your favor. You do not need to prove your worth loudly. Over time, consistency speaks for itself. Even those who tried to escape it will eventually hear what it has to say. Nostalgia is not a gentle feeling, even though it is often portrayed that way. Psychologically, it is powerful. It moves past logic and goes straight to memory and emotion. For a narcissist, someone who survives through emotional distance, selective recall, and constant forward motion, nostalgia is unsettling. And Christmas, more than almost any other time of year, is designed to activate it. For most of the year, the narcissist protects themselves by flattening the past. They reduce complex experiences to simple labels and move on quickly. This helps them avoid responsibility and discomfort, but nostalgia ignores those shortcuts. A familiar song, a repeated tradition, a remembered place. These are not just thoughts, they are lived memories. They carry emotion, atmosphere, and feeling. When those memories include you, they do not return as ideas. They return as sensations. Christmas traditions are especially strong because they repeat the same music, decorations, and dates year after year. Repetition strengthens memory. Each return adds emotional weight. For the narcissist, this makes the past harder to push away. Old scenes come back with surprising clarity, not because they want them to, but because the environment invites them. And in those scenes, you appear as someone who once mattered. What truly unsettles the narcissist is not missing you in a healthy relational way. It is the weakening of their emotional armor. Nostalgia exposes vulnerability. It reminds them of moments when they felt connected, steady, or briefly genuine. Those moments are dangerous because they clash with the emotional numbness they rely on to function. Feeling again, even without choosing to, threatens the false stability they have built. There is a painful irony here. Nostalgia shows what was real in a way fantasy never can. Narcissists prefer ideal images, dramatic beginnings, and clean endings where they remain untouched. Nostalgia strips that away. It brings back ordinary moments, shared routines, quiet understanding. These moments are not impressive on the surface, but they are deeply human. And it is exactly this humanity that destabilizes someone who fears emotional depth. Christmas amplifies this because it highlights what has lasted. It quietly asks what endured, which traditions survived, which relationships carried on. When the narcissist faces the reality that you now exist only in memory, tension forms. The memory feels alive, but the connection is gone. That gap exposes loss, not just of you, but of the version of themselves that existed when connection was still possible. From a philosophical view, nostalgia forces a confrontation with time. Time reveals truth. It shows what mattered by what stays alive in memory. And when you remain there without effort, without intrusion, it suggests meaning that cannot be dismissed. That realization is uncomfortable because it was not chosen or controlled. It simply emerged. This does not mean nostalgia leads to growth or accountability. For narcissists, it often leads to irritation, restlessness, or emotional confusion. They may reach out suddenly, rewrite the story in their mind, or push the feeling down as fast as they can. But even suppression is an acknowledgement that something unresolved exists. This is where your position matters. You are no longer inside that emotional chaos. You are outside of it. Your distance gives you clarity. You are not responsible for how nostalgia affects them. You are responsible only for what you do with the understanding you have gained. Memory reveals what mattered, not what was loud. When you live with honesty and emotional truth, your presence leaves a mark naturally. And even when you are gone, that mark remains quiet, steady, and hard to erase. There comes a moment, often subtle, when the psychological balance shifts. For a long time, the narcissist sees themselves as the one who is wanted, chased, and irreplaceable. You are framed as the one who lost something valuable, who failed to appreciate what was offered, who will eventually regret leaving. This belief supports their identity. But Christmas has a way of breaking that illusion. It forces a confrontation not with what you lost, but with what they did. At this point, the narcissist is not just remembering you, they are facing the absence you represent. And when absence lasts, it becomes proof. Proof that you did not fall apart without them. Proof that life continued and maybe even became more stable. Proof that not every ending can be blamed on someone else. This is deeply unsettling because narcissists depend on imbalance. Someone must be above and someone below. Someone must want more and someone must be desired. When Christmas arrives and you do not return emotionally, digitally, or mentally, that imbalance weakens. You are no longer the one reaching. Your absence forces a question they avoided for a long time. What did I really lose? What they lost was not just company. They lost access to someone who offered emotional steadiness without control. Someone who stayed through confusion long enough to understand the pattern. Someone who represented reflection, continuity, and depth. These are qualities the narcissist often copies but struggles to truly live. When that presence disappears for good, it leaves a space that distraction cannot fill forever. Christmas sharpens this awareness because it is a season of quiet evaluation. Lives are measured, patterns stand out. What once felt like variety begins to feel repetitive. New faces lack depth. new admiration feels shallow, and in that comparison, the narcissist realizes something painful. Some people cannot be replaced. This understanding rarely leads to humility. More often, it shows up as bitterness, irritation, or unwanted thoughts. They may downplay you in their mind, dismiss the memory, or tell themselves they could replace anyone. But these defenses appear because something real has been touched. The truth presses inward. There was a cost to how they treated you. This is where responsibility appears, not as apology, but as consequence. You did not need to punish them. You did not need to explain yourself again and again. You simply stepped away from a dynamic that required you to shrink. By doing that, you allowed reality to speak. Your absence becomes a quiet fact. It proves that relationships are not endless resources, that trust, once worn down, does not automatically rebuild, that people who offer depth cannot be replaced by novelty forever. This is the lesson Christmas delivers softly but clearly. The power here is not dramatic. It is steady. You are no longer defined by what you survived. You are defined by what you chose not to continue. That choice shifts the weight of reflection away from you and places it where it belongs. So the final reflection is this: when you choose self-respect over survival, the story changes. You stop asking why they did not value you and begin to see that leaving was the moment your value became clear. And once that truth settles, it becomes the foundation for a life that no longer needs their memory in order to move forward.